section. I want to talk really quickly here. Oh, yes, thank you, Waveform, for starting the recording. I appreciate that. So the first thing is, this call is recorded. It'll be posted later on today in the Discord, so you can listen to it later if you miss it. We have our note taker, so thank you for that. And if there's any additional items to be added to the agenda, just reach out to Waveform and he can help you out in the chat. So the first thing is a section from me. So just wanted to touch briefly on community safety. So what we've noticed in the last few months, specifically in the last month, it's really ramped up with a lot of scammers out there. There's been quite a few scams going around in Discord, on Reddit, on Facebook, basically everywhere there's socials. So just wanted to warn everyone about these scams and how they work. So we'll touch base on a couple of them. One of the big ones we're seeing is in Discord specifically, moderators, including myself, Waveform, and all the moderators with their orange colored names are being cloned. So what's happening is you'll come in, someone will come into the Discord, ask a question, you'll get a friend request from someone that copied, for example, my name. It'll say Keenan. Oddly enough, my name is Keenan won't friend request you. And that person will friend request you and say, hey, I'm here to help you out. I'm from support. I've been reading your chat in the Discord. I'm here to help you. Connect to this website, enter your 12 words, and we'll get your hotspot working again, or whatever your question is. These are obviously fake Keenans, fake moderators, fake help and support. No one from Helium will ever DM you directly with support or friend request you. There are certain exceptions where if we're talking in public and you don't want to say your wallet address in public, there's a time where we'll say, okay, send me a DM, but everything will be communicated in public as much as humanly possible. I will never send you a message first. And yes, thank you for the message there, Joey, as well. Be safe in Web3. So what's happening is these websites will ask you to enter your 12 words, never 12 or 24 words, never share those. Those are your keys to the vault, so to speak. Please keep those private. Even if someone says, oh yeah, just type them into this website, it's completely secure, I won't be able to see it, the team will see it. No, do not enter them. Do not connect your wallet to anything that you are not completely sure about. Feel free to ask in our Discord and ask one of our moderators in public. Also, you will see NFTs showing up, or weird tokens NFTs showing up in your wallet. If you don't know what it is, don't touch it, don't interact with it. Come into the Discord, feel free to ask in public what they are. Most of the time they are scams. Once you interact with it, you sign a transaction, it will drain your wallet. So just a heads up there. For the Discord specifically, we've made some improvements to our onboarding. We're doing a lot of anti-scammer stuff. We've got a lot of triggers. There's a lot of scam links that get posted. We added some new verification methods. You've probably noticed a Discord safety channel where any new user needs to join in. They need to type, I will never share my 12 or 24 words. We're constantly evolving. Now scammers, unfortunately, evolve with us. It's a bit of a game of whack-a-mole, but we're actively trying. So just warning everyone in the community, please be vigilant. These scams are increasing, and I would hate to see you lose any kind of tokens because of this. So that's my spiel. Sorry, I kind of droned on there for a little bit, but if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat, and we can get to those as well. But we'll move on to the next section now. So we're going to talk about Foundation membership. And Amy, if I could get you to... Oh, you're already up on stage if you want to take over for the Foundation membership.
Yes, hello. I think this is my first community call. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Amy, Business Development Manager, and I work very closely with a lot of companies, new and old, that are building solutions on top of the network. So We did kick off membership this month, starting in January. We'll be sharing the first cohort in Q1, and we're beginning to work with member companies on their priorities, thinking about promotion and marketing, things like product features, technical assistance. Within this, just how can we build brand presence, highlight user stories, case studies, different services that people provide all around the world. Again, just really focusing on how we can drive growth alongside key partners in our ecosystem. So there's a focus on IoT, especially within the application layer, and promoting and encouraging more flagship products. We'll be supporting people on events. And yeah, if anyone has not reached out but feels we could be supportive in any way on projects that you're working on and you are interested in getting involved, feel free to get in touch. I think there's a link posted in the agenda, but anyone can also email me.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Amy. If you have any other comments, feel free to pop them in the chat. Thanks for coming up. Okay, we're going to talk about events and comms. So, Brandy, welcome up.
Woohoo! My favorite topic. Super exciting for this.
Take it away.
Okay, taking it away on this fine Wednesday. Hello, everyone. Great to be back here on this monthly call. Lots of exciting things going on in the community. Lots of events that we're working on planning for 2024. Let me start with pointing out attention, I think, to some of the high-level projects we're working on. And if you haven't seen it, I would love for you and encourage you to either go read or follow these companies or get involved and comment. The first thing is with Keenan, our fabulous Keenan, we started a new series where we're answering community questions, pretty much some of the most common asked questions that we get and the most asked questions. So we kicked off a video just this week that features and kind of diagnoses and shows a video, which we are hoping will help make it very easy for people to understand. And that question was, how do I swap my Helium network tokens? So if you haven't seen it, please go there. It is on our YouTube channel, and we will continue to start a cadence of doing these types of step-by-step instructional videos that will answer our most asked questions that we get back here at the foundation, or if we see it on social. So excited about that video series. Help us. If you have questions, give them to us. Press at helium.foundation or hello@helium.foundation. Either one, we'll bring them in if you don't want to hit us up on Discord or any of our social channels. But we're excited about this video series, and I hope you are too. Moving on to media hits. We had a pretty great month. Telefonica news. I hope you all saw it, along with Helium Mobile. A great partnership there that was announced. Got a lot of journalists and media coverage interest in that. CoinDesk, telecommunications trades, Telco Titans is one that comes to top of mind, but we got many media hits there surrounding that great announcement that Helium Mobile is providing hotspots to Telefonica in a test city, Mexico City, and some surrounding areas. So really excited to see that happen, these partnerships develop, and all using the Helium network. So good growth news there. We also announced that H&T listed on the Backpack Exchange. So a great exchange. We were thrilled that they made that announcement and shared that news with us. So we amplified it. So if you missed it, feel free to catch up. They make a lot of their announcements on Twitter. So follow Backpack Exchange on Twitter. When it comes to some of our builders, Green Metrics, if you didn't see it, started the new year off right. They made an announcement that they partnered with the city of Porto, which, if you don't know, is a city in Portugal, a historic city, actually. It's quite beautiful if you've ever been there. And they are helping the city to build, resilience against floods and extreme weather events. So really exciting announcement from great folks, partners, Green Metrics out of the community building on the network. If you haven't seen their news, follow them. They're pretty active on Twitter too. And check out their news, read it. They made a video. It was pretty killer. I liked it. So watch their video. It shouldn't take too much time out of your day. Oh, good. Thanks, Joey. Heliotics. If you haven't seen their news come out this month, they're doing a great job and pushing forward as well. They are helping a Slovak museum monitor all of the things in the museum. So very cool story. If you haven't seen the blog, thank you for dumping it in the chat. Everyone's helping me today. I love this. Great blog post. And again, all built on the Helium network. So we're really excited about that. And we have amplified that on our social channels. But great things coming out of our community, ways we can work together with companies, anyone building on the network. But these were some of the ones that stuck out to us this month. There were certainly others. I don't have time to go over them all, but those were some good winners. If you haven't seen them, read up. I think that they're certainly worth it, and very exciting stuff. As far as events is concerned, the next thing that we have on our radar is Smart Cities in New York. It was announced that it is happening in New York City, May 22nd to 23rd. Mark your calendars and come see us. If you are planning on being in New York City or coming to that event, we are very excited to get involved there. We are still ironing out all the details on our exact involvement, but Helium Foundation team members will be there. And we are planning to speak with city members and have members of the community work with us there. Boots on the ground at Smart Cities in New York. So if you're there, come see us, stay tuned, keep an eye on all of our social channels. We are regularly posting to them: Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, Instagram. Follow us, please. That is where we are utilizing all of our communication channels to inform everyone in the public on the cool things that the community is doing and building. Lastly, and this is it, and then I'll go. I know you guys want to move on with your fabulous Wednesday. Our newsletter is coming today. So if you are not signed up to get our monthly newsletter, it covers certainly these highlights I've just gone over and more exciting things that you don't want to miss. It's a real nice recap, puts a couple other Twitter chats on your radar if you're interested in those types of things. They're always great discussions, very educational discussions. Please sign up for our newsletter. Go to our website, helium.com, put your name in that sign up for the newsletter box, and we will get you on our list, and you will not miss that newsletter. It is scheduled to go out by end of day today. So get over there if you haven't done so and get signed up. Additionally, the Q4 protocol report is coming out today. So big news day for us back here in the PR and marketing and comms and events world. That is a fairly robust report if you haven't read it before, and gives you a nice overview of the things that the Helium Network and the community has accomplished for the quarter. So lots of good goodies stuffed in there. You're going to want to get a good read on that. So please keep an eye for that. We will be publishing that today. And I think that about wraps it up. I have lots of cool things scheduled to talk about for the next quarter, but these were just the highlights for this one. So sign up, follow us. If you have any questions, we always love feedback, brainstorm ideas, give it to us. Again, those 2 emails are the best ones to hit us up at: press@helium.foundation or hello@helium.foundation. And
Awesome.
toss it back to you, Keenan.
Thank you very much for that extremely good update. They're always excellent. Much appreciated. We'll pop the email addresses into the chat. This 1 second here, I'll write them myself. There we go. There's the press one. Just want to quickly note on the first part of your announcement there, in regards to the videos I'm making. If you guys have any specific requests for something that you think deserves a video to be made, something that people are confused about constantly, feel free to DM me. Sorry, not DM me. Ping me on Discord, and let me know what video I should make. Always happy to have feedback on that. All right. So we're going to move on to an MCC update, and looks like Waveform is going to give us that. So Waveform, take it away.
Yes, Scott can't make it today, so I'll give an update on just a couple of things. We've made an announcement in the HIP 99 channel, which was the formalize the maker program through a new legal entity. We've decided at this stage it's no longer necessary. During the HIP's proposal, and now we've made a lot of progress without this HIP, re-engaging makers, talking to makers directly, separate from the MCC as an identity, which has more or less become inactive because not as much activity about approving new makers there. We're in a lot of contact. We've done an audit of the makers. We've removed some makers because they've just not responded to us. The current list are the ones who have responded. How well they've responded to our survey of do you wish to continue? What information do you have? We're auditing that. It will be useful if people can pass anything on about what they feel about what's going on with makers. Feedback that in the foundation channel, please. HIP 95, top of my head, was the one that was the resolving makers when people couldn't onboard because of DC credits. The new wallet app feature allows self onboards. So even if a maker is degenerate, has left, people can onboard by paying and fees themselves if they so wish. We'll be contracting directly with some of them about new accountability and creating better relationships direct with the foundation in the future. We're looking to launch a second mobile hotspot provider next quarter with more know your customer procedures for us, security and pen testing, and there'll be a community vote on approving this new mobile manufacturer. There'll be a requirement to lock up tokens for mobile manufacturing as per HIP 53, and we'll also be looking to secure separate deposits for guarantees throughout all the makers, and we will keep you updated on this, and please keep updated with your responses in the foundation channel. I've contacted the authors of HIP 95, asking them what they want to do regarding that withdrawal or change, and waiting to hear the response on that.
Awesome. Thank you for the detailed explanation. That's excellent. Okay, and speaking of the wallet, actually, we're going to be moving on to an engineering update from Noah.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, if you could give us a rundown of what's going on, and I know you've been sending out updates to the wallet quite often now, tons of new features. So yeah, if you could talk about a few of those new features and how they work and their purpose, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of new stuff in the wallet app. I guess we'll start with the oldest first. The oldest thing I think we added was onboarding to the wallet app, but more recently we added the ability to self-onboard if the maker doesn't have any data credits. And same thing for location asserts. So yeah, I mean, not a situation I like that we're in particularly. It would be nice if all the makers just kept their DC topped up, but at least this unblocks people to, get coverage deployed where they need it. And then after that, I think we added Jupyter swaps. So when you actually go to the swap screen, you can basically swap any token that's on Solana for any other token that's on Solana, and that's using Jupyter on the back end. So with that, you can also, we added support for multiple tokens in the wallet app. So it's a little bit hard to find, but if you scroll to the very bottom of your token list, it'll say manage visible tokens. And you can actually, checkbox USDC or Jupe or, whatever else that you want. Let's see. We added priority fees to everything, which, what's important with the Jupyter launch today, so that your transactions are actually landing because they have appropriate fees attached to them. They're really small in my experience. Like most of the time it adds 1 Lamport, which is like, I don't even know, like 1/10,000th of a cent. But usually that's enough to get your transaction through.
Could you
And then
actually just a quick note there? Could you give an Eli 5 of the Jupe drop today and why things are slower and why priority fees?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think it's mostly back to normal. But yeah, Jupyter, who is like a big aggregator on Solana, you can kind of think of them like they're trying to compete with centralized exchanges, but while being decentralized. So when you're doing on-chain swaps through Jupyter, they search through tons and tons of protocols like Radium and Orca and Phoenix and OpenBook, and they try and find you the best price for your tokens and the amount that you're trying to sell or buy on chain, and then they execute that, or you execute that route through them. So it's a really nice tool. We actually use it in the wallet app for swaps. We use it when you go to the swap screen. We also use it for the feature where if you don't have enough SOL, it'll give you some SOL in exchange for HNT, IoT, or mobile. So depending on how early you use Jupyter, you might actually be eligible for this airdrop. I would just recommend a lot of caution if you're trying to go claim an airdrop. There are a ton of scammers that are pretending to be Jupyter that's going to give you free tokens, and they are not. Jupyter is giving out tokens right now because they're launching their token and they're trying to distribute it widely, and they're giving it out to users. But if you want to claim that token, make sure you go to actual Jupyter's website, which is jup.ag, jup.ag. And I think the airdrop link is lfg.jup.ag. Just be very careful. The scammers are going to be out in droves. Is that good enough overview, you think?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it was just I think some people were trying to claim earlier today their IoT or mobile, whatever it may be, and the transactions were slow, and they were just curious as to why. So that's perfect.
Oh yeah. So what happened was, it launched. There's a flurry of activity because everybody's trying to claim, everybody's trying to trade. The token's kind of in price discovery. So Solana is a shared resource, and there's a ton of just volume happening. And when there's a ton of volume happening, there's this kind of fee market approach where the people who say they're willing to pay more fees on their transaction have their transaction more likely to go through. So in the Helium wallet app, we set a modest fee on it, but during the Jupyter launch, you might have waited 70 seconds for a transaction to go through versus maybe 10 seconds on a normal day.
Got it. That's perfect. Thank you.
And then other big wallet app update. Huge amount of work. We completely overhauled governance, rewrote smart contracts, and then actually added it to the wallet app. So now you can stake your HNT, stake your mobile, delegate to different sub networks, and actually go vote on improvement proposals right in the wallet app. Which is pretty cool. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. I guess since the old chain.
And it also shows your locked tokens as well, which I think there was some confusion on.
Oh yeah. I mean, if it says 0 locked tokens, you don't have any tokens locked. We wanted to still show that there is this option to lock tokens, so we didn't hide that completely. just so that people have a convenient place to go and lock their token. Which please do participate in the voting. It really is how this network is driven, is by user feedback. So the more people we have participating in governance, the better the direction ends up being.
Absolutely. Is there any questions about the wallet app in general? Anyone has that they want to post in chat? Pause there for a minute.
Oh, I will say there was a bug if you are going to do the Jupiter claim, there's a bug I discovered this morning in the wallet app that makes it have issues connecting on Jupiter if you've already connected to Jupiter before. So yeah, we'll have a fix coming out for that in 2.6.4. How can I get rid of the Orca scam? Oh, so you can technically burn that Orca scam token. You would have to go to like a burn site like Soul Incinerator, which again is like a little bit risky because now you're connecting to a site that just I'm vouching for and don't even know if you're connecting the URL in it right. Potentially we can add a feature at some point to the wallet app to let you burn those things directly in the app.
Yeah, my personal opinion is if you don't know what it is, just don't touch it at all.
Yeah, that's my best advice. I never burn scam NFTs. I never burn scam tokens. I just don't touch it.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth it.
Exactly, that's right. I know some people's opinions are go to Soul Incinerator and burn stuff, but that can also cause some problems if you don't know if something's legit or not. Usually it's not, but you never know. Yeah, don't touch it. Just hide it if you can, or just ignore it. That's
yeah.
my opinion.
And I guess I'll give you guys an example of why we say just don't touch it. So a lot of people did go to Soul Incinerator to burn these scam NFTs, and they just like selected all NFTs and burned them, and then they ended up burning their hotspots, which means you can't earn rewards from your hotspot anymore. So this is why I always say be careful. It's crypto. Whatever you do is permanent. Having something sitting in your wallet is a lot less bad than accidentally burning something that should be in your wallet.
Exactly. Yeah, if you don't touch it, nothing bad can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only bad things that can happen are when you click that approve button or if you give someone your 12 or 24 words. Everything else, you're fine. And scammers are going to try and rush you. They're going to make you feel like there's free money on the line. And if you don't act quickly, you're going to lose that free money. Just don't listen to them. You have all the time in the world as long as you don't hit that approve button or give someone your 24 words.
Yeah, good advice. All right. Well, thank you very much, Noah. That is awesome. Let's see, what do we got here? We've got HIP64 update. It looks like Hashcode. You're going to touch on that one.
Yeah, I just want to, before I jump into HIP64, actually first, mic check. Keenan, can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
We're experiencing the Pineapple Express in the west coast of the United States, so I don't know if my internet's going to hold. Before we jump into HIP64, I did want to sort of acknowledge the amount of work that Noah, Bry, and other engineers and the team have been putting into the wallet app. I mean, I think that one of the things that we fundamentally believe in that should be the case for the Helium wallet is that it should be the place where you interact with the Helium ecosystem. And that's everything from having your hotspots, onboarding them, changing things about them, claiming your rewards, participating in governance. Like you should have a one-stop shop. It takes time to get there, and obviously there's a lot of priorities, and our team is very, very small. The wallet app is a open source project, and although the Helium Foundation is the one that sort of pushes buttons to the app stores, we definitely accept help from folks in the community who are interested in helping there. So, feel free to ask questions in the public channels. Feel free to open PRs if that's something you'd like to do. If there's words in the wallet app that you feel like could be a little more clear, open a PR and just like offer a change. We'll evaluate it and we'll consider it before pushing it, obviously, to the app stores. But we are we're iterating constantly on this because we do think it's the front end. As much as there are a lot of people here on Discord who spend a lot of time, there are way more people who are interacting with the Helium ecosystem and only through the wallet app. I think the number that I looked at recently was there are over 250,000 people who have push notifications on. And we kind of understand that is a very important relationship that we're trying to be very careful about. We're only sending pushes to folks about governance updates, and sometimes if there's an urgent app update, we might send a push. But just a heads up that's sort of the community that we're talking about outside of just who's on Discord or who's listening to this community call. So really appreciate the work that's being done, and also appreciate the feedback that we're getting in the community because it's helping us decide what's needed. Cool. On the HIP that we're talking about. So HIP 64 has been open for a very long time. I think we started thinking about this idea. And actually it was me and Karam, who's the CEO of Wi-Fi Dev, on stage at Helium House in Austin. So this is, it feels like forever ago, like less than 2 years ago. But it's been open for a while. I've been trying to work with the Wi-Fi Dev team to try to figure out where they are. Obviously, like, it is very hard, and I just want to acknowledge their team for a moment. It's very hard to build this stuff in the open. We've had a little more experience doing this, but not by much. We've only really been doing this for 4 years, a little more than 4 years here. But building in the open is tough. There are lots of folks that have opinions. You're not going to sort of resolve and help all of them, and help answer the questions for every single person in a timely manner. And it's hard to set expectations. So, hardware is hard. Like there's a lot there. So, I want to say that it's been. I know why it's taking as long as it is for them, because I've been there. So I think the decision that was made by that team was to withdraw HIP 64, and I think it comes down to a very simple thing, which is they have a roadmap that doesn't necessarily align entirely with launching an H-Wi-Fi token, and I think that's okay. I think that's a choice that every project team needs to think about. And so the right thing to do for them was to withdraw this HIP. As I understand it, they are planning on launching a token. This is a DBT token. It'll have nothing to do directly with the Helium ecosystem. At least that token won't. And it's specifically for their DABA Lights and soon DABA Pros and maybe even their DABA Laser product that they're working on. So that's, as far as I understand it, that's still going. They have actually asked us to help them launch on Solana, and this is more of an engineering exercise rather than a official partnership with the Helium network or the foundation or anything like that. And so I think that we'll offer the same help. We actually I don't know if a lot of folks in the community know this, but we helped the render team as well launch on Solana a few months ago. And help them think through how they launch Burn and Mint on Solana. So this is something that we as an engineering team are pretty comfortable with. And obviously we build in the open, and all of our program libraries is open source for this exact reason. We want other projects to use it, and so we're happy to spend some time on it. So yeah, that's what's going on with HIP 64. I know a lot of our community has been frustrated with the fact that the HIP channel has been open forever, and it's been kind of unclear. I will say, and really just to close, like, building the open's hard, and so like give people the benefit of the doubt. And I think it's important to treat all projects with the kind of respect and sort of care that you would for your own, right? So I think, I'm not looking to go to. I really, really suggest that our community doesn't go drag them about this. It's tough, right? And they're making a decision that they think is right for their project, and we should like kind of celebrate that.
Cool. Thanks for the update there. I posted the HIP 64 channel. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the channel, and we'll get back to you there. Appreciate the update. Next up, we've got governance office hours. Waveform, I'm going to call you back up again.
Yeah, hi again. So we had 3 months worth of a couple of office hours meetings, and we've gone through all the ideas we had internally, externally for a governance committee. We've been looking at those, reviewing those, and with the changes that's gone on with modular governance, I think that we need to pull back on and wait until there's quite a lot of, how would I say, logical and physical infrastructure in place before we proceed. I do think that we need proxy voting validating and working, which is where you can proxy your vote to someone else if you don't feel that you know enough about the subject that's being discussed, but you trust someone else to. So we've got to probably put that in place and make sure that's working before that goes ahead. Modular governance, all the options there. We've just moved it from being a web platform to being in the app, and really love to work out how we go there. Going to be setting some kind of procedures up for a group to follow, whether it's a big group, a small group, or however we do it in the future. But we're looking at setting up some procedures on how that works. The actual way that HIPs actually get to vote, and the guidance about how HIPs go from a PR to get a vote channel. A PR being the very basics of a proposal. We get a lot of those in our GitHub HIPs channel. If you ever want to see there, some of them get to be a HIP, some of them just stay there. Sometimes information and proposals that are in there we've looked at and we go, yeah, that doesn't need to be a HIP. That can go in some part of another HIP, or we can take that as a procedure. Coming back to that, the proposal is that for HIPs in the future, I mean, there's some people who started doing a great thing, which is a great idea, which is authors and contributors. So I'd like to separate out authors of a HIP. Authors of a HIP are people who did a lot of contributing to the writing and who will defend the HIP in the HIP channel and discuss the HIP and back the HIP. Contributors can just be people who added information in the HIP as parts of the HIP rather than they are classified as an author. That's been done by the community. I think it's a great idea, so we'll carry on with that. We want to better identify stakeholders, so we'll improve assistance with that. They also want to identify where HIP authors are aligned or associated with particular makers or groups. So we'll be asking people to state their alignment or which organizations they're associated with, so people have a better idea of who's creating the HIPs, and also self-identify as which stakeholders they are. This is purely for more visible ability to decide which people you are supporting or are reviewing when you look at the HIPs. And we'll also be looking more about trying to create some what I would call executive summaries of HIPs, where some of the really complicated ones, there can be a separate side proposal which says, if you're really affected by this HIP, these are the things to look at. This is where it will benefit you. This is where it will not benefit you. So we'll try and do those as kind of an independent assessment of a HIP. And what was the last thing? The HIP hip numbers, yes. Please, if you're going to create hips, please don't put the numbers in yourself. We've had 2 hip 110s recently. Just leave it as a 00. But I'll be modifying the hip template shortly with these recommendations and adding content in that can be removed and links to other content. And then we'll encourage everyone else to then start using the new template. Got any questions on this from anyone?
Just checking the chat here. Nothing just yet. Where would be a good spot for people to ask questions outside of this chat? That'd be governance channel, governance general.
Yeah, governance general. Yeah, or if it's on specific hips in the hip discussion.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to put that in the chat for now.
Yeah,
governance general or specific hips.
Well, if you do already have a GitHub account, you can go to github/helium/hips, and in there, and the PRs that are not even yet at hip stage quite often get discussed. We've just had one about voting, where we've had a lot of spirited discussion about voting. The author thinks they don't have enough time to proceed with it, but we'll probably review what the author said, and it will contribute probably to our plan about governance and hips. So if you've got an idea for a hip, it may not necessarily get to hip stage, but we could include the content in future hips and in our own processes. And thanks for the people who do contribute to that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for the update. Just watching the chat here for a second. Maybe a question coming in. Okay. You know what? We'll leave that to the chat then. So
I'll respond to Hollowfly if it's a question. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we can respond in chat or governance general. Okay. Next up, we've got Foundation console update. Joey.
Hey.
Hey.
So yeah, we've talked on the topic of Foundation console, I think, for a couple of community calls now, but some really nice updates on that end. So as a little bit of history, the existing console.helium.com is in a lockdown state, effectively. So anyone with an existing user account can use their devices, run their devices, keep the data credits topped up, all that fun stuff. However, the Helium Foundation wants to keep a path for new users to keep coming in and experimenting and learning how to use the Helium network, the IoT network here. And so I put together a proposal for how we think we can operate this. And I just was thinking back, I've written a number of hips at this point, but I think this is my first one actually approved. So a little bit of my Leonardo DiCaprio moment. So that's exciting. But what this proposal puts together is a way for the Helium Foundation to run a console that can operate for free for the community. And through this, we, in protecting the network and making sure that people aren't spamming devices to get rewards and do credit card bad things and all of that fun stuff. This device traffic is not rewarded to hotspots. As a corollary to that, we have to make sure that the devices are not allowed to run for a very long time. So this is very much a trial and educational console that we will be standing up. Folks will be able to run their devices for about 24 hours, and then they will sort of nuke from that console, this LNS, and then they will not be allowed to onboard those devices for an extended period of time. So this makes sure that the emphasis continues to be on commercial operations and that people sort of graduate to these professional services but have an opportunity to come in and try things out, which is really important. Frankly, I've been on calls with folks who are trying to onboard devices on other LP WAN providers, and I was just like, hey, let's grab your keys, let's throw it in console. And it's amazing to get these joins live on a call with folks trying things out. So the use cases are real there. So to talk a little bit on timelines, the HIP is approved. It seemed to be fairly non-contentious. We had a couple of AMAs to ask questions there. We're going to be standing up a couple of tools from the feedback of the community there as well. We are in the process of testing currently. So we've been working with the community to build the service and make sure that it sort of matches the design laid out in the HIP. And so the testing is ongoing, and I'll provide some updates in the HIP 102 channel as things become a little bit more concrete. But I am hopeful that we should be seeing this within the next month or two. Any questions on that? I'm happy to answer them. But this will be a service that will continue to evolve. It likely won't be entirely polished straight out of the gate, but we're doing a lot of work within the foundation and with the community as well to make sure that this is a ever-improving tool.
Looks like you got a question there. Can we add
Yeah.
DIY LoRa devices to the Helium network?
So absolutely, and this is really what a service like this is really geared for. So come in, try building a device, onboard that device, see some packets flowing through, and then sort of move to this like concrete deployment, working with one of the LNS operators in the ecosystem. I'm also really excited about opportunities to build really, really robust documentation. So now that you can provision a device and onboard a device, and you don't have to worry about people spamming those endpoints quite as much, we can do things like provision devices directly inside documentation with interactive code samples and run those code samples on remote hardware with remote video streams and all sorts of really cool stuff. I see Scott Livingston is in the chat, and he's been really instrumental in building some tooling around this. So I'm excited to push some of that stuff forward. Give him all of the reactions in the chat. I can't even begin to talk about how cool this stuff is.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Joey. Any more questions for Joey before he steps down? Just gonna watch the chat here for 1 second. Oh, Scott is getting the reacts.
Love it. Love it.
All right, looks like nothing else for you, Joey. So thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we've got the working groups. I don't believe we have an update from the IoT working group. Maybe we do. Let me just take a look here. Nope, I was mistaken. I don't believe we do. Okay, so we're going to move to the mobile working group. So Heated Lime, if you can come on up. Oh, looks like you're already up.
Thanks, Kenan. Yeah, so kind of the same update that we have every month. Basically, just a quick background. The mobile working group is just a group of elected people interested in the mobile sub-DAO who meet on a weekly basis every Thursday at, I believe, 1 p.m. Central. And so we just discuss HIP ideas, current HIPs in the works, ways to improve the HIPs, and then different ideas on how to improve the mobile ecosystem. So we have a lot of the HIPs that are currently out there in some form or another are basically stem from mobile working group ideas and contributions from other mobile working group members. So currently right now there's HIP 98 out, which basically solidifies speed test requirements for hotspots and CBRS radios. Then there is HIP 103, which establishes oracles to provide boost to areas with higher footfall traffic. And then last but not least, HIP 105, which separates CBRS from Wi-Fi, basically allow up to 3 CBRS signals and 3 Wi-Fi signals in the same Res 12 hex to be rewarded. So those are actually out to vote now, so make sure everybody goes and vote. Other than that, we welcome anybody to come to the mobile working group sessions every Thursday at 1 p.m. I believe you can go into the events section in Discord and express interest, and it'll notify you when we start. That's all I got. Thanks, Kenan.
Thank you. And yeah, that's exactly right. So if you go into the events section of Discord, you'll see the weekly meeting for the mobile working group. It'll be based on your time zone, so feel free to click the little button there and it adds it to your calendar so you don't forget. And Heated Lime, I'm gonna be calling you a couple of times here, I think. So feel free to stay up on stage if you like. Because actually, we're going to be talking about HIPs undergoing a vote, and the next one is HIP 98. So take it away. Oh, Heated Lime, are you good to go for to discuss 98?
Yeah, sorry, I was talking on mute.
All good.
Basically, HIP 98, it solidifies the speed test requirements that were previously established in a Helium blog. So in order for a Helium mobile hotspot or CBS radios to be rewarded 100%, they're required to pass specific speed test requirements. It also scales rewards based on degraded speed tests. So there is one new thing that is going to be hopefully implemented as a part of this HIP, which establishes a new speed test reward scale. So if you fail a speed test slightly, instead of having your rewards halved, you'll instead just get 75%. So if you're failing speed test just slightly, this HIP will actually benefit and increase your rewards.
Awesome, thank you. And again, while you're up here, we're going to talk about HIP 103, Mobile Oracle Hex Boosting. And also, Zero Tweets is up here as well, so feel free for both of you to chime in.
All right, yeah, I'll give a quick background, and then if I miss anything, Boris can jump in. So HIP 103 is Mobile Oracle Hex Boosting. The HIP will establish 3 separate oracles. The first oracle is Urbanization Oracle, which uses U.S. Census data to identify areas of urban and unurban areas to provide a specific multiplier to those areas. And the next area is the footfall data, which is sourced from a third party called Veriset. It identifies areas where point of interest, such as businesses, parks, sports arena, etc., have footfall traffic, and it will reward hotspot deployers more if they deploy in areas that have higher footfall traffic. Then lastly is the land type oracle, which will identify different land types such as body of water, farmland, grassland, etc., and provide a multiplier based on where what type of geography that is deployed in. So since there's 3 oracles, they won't actually be implemented right away, all at once if the HIP passes. It'll be implemented in a staggered approach. Nova has volunteered to undertake the work for that. If it passes, it's estimated that each oracle will take about a month to implement. The first oracle to be implemented, if it passed, will be the Urbanization Oracle. Roughly 1 month after the Urbanization Oracle is deployed, it's scheduled that the footfall one will also be overlaid on top of that. So then the urbanization and footfall traffic will be together. And then 1 month after that, all the oracles should be implemented. So the land type will get ingested on top of that as well. And so basically, it kind of adds a little complexity to how POC works. But I think the easiest way to look at it and think of it is to take a look at the footfall map, which is there's a link within HIP 103. And if you are deploying your radio or Wi-Fi and it covers a yellow hex, that's what you want to do. The goal is to cover as many yellow hexes as you can. So as a good basis, just look at that and try to deploy in yellow hexes. Now, that's only if HIP 101 or 103 passes. So make sure everybody go vote. Boris, did I miss anything?
No, Andy, I think it's a very thorough summary. In general, to sort of wrap a bigger context around this and some of the other HIPs that are either in discussion or being voted on right now, what we are working towards is to incentivize deployments in locations where they're most likely to drive data usage and HNT to DC burn. Unlike with the IoT network, where the objective largely was to just blanket the Earth and create ubiquitous coverage, with the mobile network, the objective is very different in that much of the usage, vast majority of the usage, actually happens concentrated in relatively few like focused geographic locations. So we're not looking to build a network that will blanket the world like an IoT case, but we're looking to concentrate coverage in locations where subscribers are most likely to use it. And because of this, we are doing all these initiatives such as what Andy described with HIP 103 to sort of skew rewards towards such locations. So go vote for HIP 103. I think is going to be a huge step forward in the direction towards achieving the goal that I described here.
Perfect. Thank you both. Appreciate it. And I'll be calling you back up shortly. But next up, we've got HIP 105, modify mobile hex limit. So again, Heated Lime, please take it away.
Thanks. So HIP 105 will establish basically new limits on how many different radio signals will be rewarded per Res 12 hex. Right now, per HIP 85, Wi-Fi and CBRS are treated equally. So if you have more than 3 Wi-Fi and CBRS radio signals within a signal Res 12 hex, only the top 3 will be rewarded. HIP 105 changes that and kind of breaks off Wi-Fi and CBRS, so it'll allow you to deploy CBRS and Wi-Fi in the same location without having your reward scaled down. That's pretty much a summary of it.
Cool, thank you. I posted a couple of links there in the chat, just in case anyone's missing it, to the HIP channel. So if you have any questions, jump into those HIP channels, post your question, and someone will get to you. Next up, we've got HIP 106. Is Groot around, Waveform?
I don't think Groot's around yet, if he can be, and I can cover it. Basically, the part of the deny list that covers whether you can do bidirectional traffic between hotspots, which is beacons heard by witnesses in both directions. That's currently within the deny list. So if you are triggered by that, you get added to the deny list. If you can listen but not speak, effectively you get added to the deny list. And it can take a while to get on there. It can take a while to get off. It can be fixed quite often by reconnecting an antenna that's not working very well, or by replacing a LoRa concentrator. This proposal says, let's move this from the deny list to part of proof of coverage. So if you are affected by this negatively, you stop earning that minute because you're not allowed to do proof of coverage. And if you fix your problem, immediately you fixed, you're back in earning. So rather than having a delay in earnings reduced because of a problem, you immediately are resolved if you resolve the problem yourself. So it doesn't actually change anything about the denial list. It just moves the denial of earnings within POC, which is a faster reaction than being on the denial list.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for the breakdown there. I guess what we'll do is if Groot does have the ability to join before the call's over, we can always circle back if he has any other comments about it. But yeah, appreciate the update there. So while you're up, we're gonna move on to HIP's past, and we're gonna discuss HIP 100. So you're already up here, Waveform. So go ahead.
Yeah, there's 3 of us working on this at the moment, creating the new EU 868 deployment map. Hopefully that'll be done within the next week, and we can have all those countries that can't work at the moment on EU 868 within Africa will be able to assert their hotspots within those countries and work on start operating. I've been told there are quite a number ready waiting. So, yep, implementation within a week, hopefully.
Awesome. It's quite soon. I posted in the chat, so you can go ask any questions in HIP 100. Shout out to Hashcode for doing the TLDRs, working overtime there. That's awesome. Really appreciate that. All right. Next up, HIP 104, fine tune HIP 17. So again, Groot I don't believe is available, but I think we've got Ryoba. So Ryoba, if you want to put your hand up or jump up on stage, I think he's here somewhere.
I don't think he's here. No, I don't think he made it. Again,
Okay.
quick summary. HIP 17 had a table set of how many hotspots within a hex, different hex sizes, and how many hotspots within hexes in their neighboring hotspots. This defined your transmit scale. The goal of this HIP is that hotspots within dense areas, their scale will go down, and hotspots in not so dense areas, their scale will go. It's only been in place for a couple of days now.
I think 2 or 3 days, yeah.
Yeah. So people who say my earnings are down in the last 2 weeks, has this affected it? Probably not. Your earnings will have been affected in some other way. So you only really look at how has this affected you by changes in the last couple of days, basically since the beginning of the week. If your earnings were down last week, this HIP hasn't affected it directly. Something else was the issue. And some people's earnings will be up, as Aaron's mentioned. So that's a quick rundown of what that one will do.
Yeah, same thing. If Groot or Ryoba join in before the call ends, we'll get them to circle back to it. But again, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to HIPs that have not passed. So we have mobile HIP 101, increase rewards for Wi-Fi. 0 tweets if you want to take that one.
Yes. So that was probably the most contentious HIP in the history of the mobile sub-DAO. The idea was to equalize POC rewards between CBRS and Wi-Fi. The reason for it is that Wi-Fi is driving pretty much entirety of the traffic on the network currently, simply because Wi-Fi technology is more mature and subscribers can actually connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot much easier with a much cleaner UX. CBRS is probably 2-3 years away from being there in terms of delivering good UX when it comes to connecting to the hotspot and handing back to the macro network. So the situation that we currently have is 4,500 or so Wi-Fi hotspots are effectively responsible for 99.99% of the traffic on the network, are getting roughly 7.5% of the total POC, whereas the remaining POC rewards go to CBRS. And I think that this is something that is understandable given there is a history of investment in CBRS and people have spent money and effort to set up these CBRS towers. But the more worrying trend is that the speed at which the sort of POC gets pulled away from Wi-Fi towards CBRS is actually continuing to accelerate, and that because it's more profitable to set up CBRS, understandably, people are purchasing and setting up CBRS towers, and because CBRS, while more expensive, also provides more coverage, and our POC is focused exclusively on how many hexes you're able to cover, we are seeing kind of an increased pool of reward points towards CBRS and away from Wi-Fi. So the objective of the HIP was to solve for this balance so that we can accelerate Wi-Fi forward while we're tackling the UX issues related to CBRS. And understandably, it was a fairly contentious issue with more people voting than ever. And in the end, the HIP did not pass, it failed. So there's not going to be any change to the reward points for CBRS or Wi-Fi. And the situation that I described for now will, in my opinion, unfortunately, will persist. The good news is that it was amazing to see so many people being so passionate about this topic and arguing from all angles. There's a lot of kind of interesting, nuanced, valid points, I think, that CBRS community has also brought up in the context of sort of battle for this HIP. So all in all, I think that if maybe the HIP didn't pass, it at least helped raise the issue very much to the surface, which is an acute issue that everybody in the community is aware of, and there's a lot of new information when it comes to, pro and against equalizing the rewards that everybody now can use to maybe, move forward with a more balanced solution.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it was a really contentious HIP, but again, you're right. There was a huge turnout. Lots of people came out and voted, so it's great to see, at least.
Yep. So that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. All
Any
right.
other HIPs that failed that?
Nope,
I
that's
should comment
what we
on?
have on the list today. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll hear from you again shortly. We're moving on to new HIPs. So the first one we've got here is Mobile HIP 107, deterring gaming through verification fees. Heated Lime, all yours again.
Thanks. So yeah, HIP 107 kind of stemmed out of a mobile working group call where Boris basically expressed that Nova was receiving a lot of fake CPI submissions, whether it be altered pictures or even submissions of GPS spoofing from China. And so that was kind of concerning, seeing how gaming was such a huge, had a huge impact on the IoT network. We're trying to stay on top of it and curb it as fast as we can. So this HIP will effectively create a fee every time a radio is going to be CPI'd. So basically, the way it currently is, for anybody unfamiliar, when you set up a new CBRS radio or move it to a different location, it needs to be registered with SAS. The way to do that is you have to submit pictures and information data to Nova, who will then verify it and confirm that it is set up correctly and the information that you sent is correct. And then they will enter it into the SAS system, which will allow the radio to start broadcasting. So as of right now, there is no cost for anybody to submit that to Nova. And so Nova has, with the increased popularity in mobile, Nova has definitely seen an increase in CPI submissions. So, as a part of that, there's a lot of fake CPI submissions as well. So it's kind of backlogged them and made it harder for them to actually go and approve legit setups. So as a part of this, we want to implement a fee for anybody who wants to submit a new CPI submission. That way, if it is determined that it's fake and rejected, then the gamer basically wasted $20 in mobile burn for nothing. It also gives Nova the authority to, if they identify that radio information has changed since the last CPI submission, such as you've moved the radio without re-verifying or resubmitting the information, or you're spoofing the information on it, that Nova can go ahead and retroactively revoke that CPI. And then that'll cause the user to have to go pay a fee and re-register it as well. So just kind of add some extra protection to try to discourage gaming.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, I put HIP 107 channel in the chat. Feel free to go ask questions. Next up, we've got Mobile HIP 108, Mobile Hotspot Suspension Framework. Once again, 0 tweets. Take it away.
Yeah. So this is another one that's likely going to be highly contentious. I think that the genesis of this HIP was some of the community members discovering rural farming setups, so to speak, for CBRS, where people basically, set up large number of powerful radios in rural locations with the sole purpose to cover large swaths of land and collect lots of POC with very little to no probability of those radios ever being used. And some of such setups were brought up to attention of the working group members and some of the other community members, and that sparked a discussion. What can we do to curtail such setups? And there's been kind of a bit of back and forth on this, and in the end, the decision was that we should come up with some framework to police malicious setups. We've gone through a couple of iterations of rewriting the document. I think that it still needs to, undergo some edits before it goes to a vote. For instance, the area use case that I've described that was the genesis for it, meaning malicious farming setups, so to speak, and rural locations will automatically be taken care of by HIP 103 passing, which is not a done deal, but if it does pass, I would imagine that that point would not necessarily need to be as part of the doc. But generally speaking, what we've tried to do is capture various examples of sort of malicious activity on the network and come up with a path to sort of systematically expose this activity and potentially ban or temporarily suspend the hotspots that engage in that activity with the feedback of the community. The general idea is that there's a whole bunch of bad things that can be happening on the network. People creating fake accounts and milking the hotspots for data, people setting up and spoofing the location in various ways. There's an endless number of creative ways that people always come up with. Just very blatant bad farming setups, and et cetera, et cetera. There's kind of new things popping up continuously. And because of that, we need to have some framework to sort of police bad behavior. I think the existence of the framework that polices bad behavior, just the very existence of it is likely to eliminate a lot of bad behavior. But because right now there isn't really any means to police bad behavior, like if somebody's doing something blatantly bad, it's unclear who, if anybody, has the right to, for example, suspend the hotspot. So this concept of deny list that exists in the IoT hotspot land simply does not exist in the mobile sub-DAO. And with the increased popularity of the mobile token so does the malicious activity increase dramatically. So this is going to be kind of a work in progress type of thing where we'll have to go back and forth and hopefully come up with a framework, a V1 framework that would allow the community to help police malicious setups. So I would encourage everybody to bring your learnings from the potentially the deny list experience in the IoT world and hop into the 108 channel and propose some constructive ideas about how this can be done most effectively. So that's 108.
Perfect. Thank you, Zero Tweets. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to Mobile HIP 109. So that is hex boosting by deployment, Heated Lime, and Max, if Max is around.
Hey, I don't know if Max is around, so I'll go ahead and speak.
Yeah.
This is a pretty, small HIP. It's basically what it's doing. HIP 83 allows service providers to burn mobile to effectively boost POC rewards for specific hexes. However, that HIP doesn't classify or doesn't define the type of deployments that'll be boosted. So basically, if a CBRS or Wi-Fi is currently set in the boosted hex that provides coverage to the boosted hex, they will be rewarded that boost. However, this HIP will allow the service provider to define the types of deployments that it wants the boost to apply to. So if this HIP passes going forward whenever a service provider would burn mobile to boost a hex, they would be able to define if they want the boost to only be applied to Wi-Fi, only be applied to CBRS, or be applied to both. So it just basically allows the service provider to more fine-tune the types of deployments they want and where.
Awesome. Thank you again. Once again, I posted the HIP 109 channel. Feel free to ask questions in there. All right. And we're actually circling back a little bit to IoT HIP 94. Waveform, do we have anyone to speak on this one?
I don't think Paul is about, but yeah, people were saying for a long time this HIP needs updating or closing. So he's actually created a major update to HIP 94, which was a response to HIP 83, where we moved from what people used to say was proof of luck to the fastest to respond, which was not. It wasn't enjoyed by the community who were getting lucky rewards, even though the previous move from fast to luck was regarded with equal skepticism. So this is a further update to the response to HIP 83, and he's created a lot of reports, a lot of information. I'd encourage everybody to take a look at this because it's a bigger change than the kind of vague ideas he had in his previous one.
Yeah, a lot of those are posted in HIP 94, so feel free to go into HIP 94, take a look. I think most of them are pinned messages as well. All right. Guess that's bringing us to close to the end of our call here. So what I'm going to do is leave it open for a couple of questions. If there's anything, any people have any questions about the network, anything you want to ask, now's the time. We got a few minutes left, so if you have anything, post it in the chat, and we'll see if we can get to them. And while those chat messages are coming in, just a reminder, this call has been recorded. It'll be posted in Governance General. It'll be pinned in there. We'll actually have it on the Helium Foundation YouTube channel as well. The next call, by the way, is also on February 28th. You can find that by going to Discord events, the top left of your screen if you're on desktop. Click events, you'll see the Helium community call posted in there. set a reminder, and it'll remind you of that call. Okay, just cruising through. Just looking at the questions. If there's anything that anyone wants to reply to on the chat here, feel free to just unmute yourself. We'll leave it open for another few seconds here. Okay, so it looks like we're just going to move questions to the specific channels, so 5G, Helium Mobile, questions and answers, or general. So we'll end it there. We are very close to time anyways. So I'd like to say thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to all the speakers for jumping in. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one, February 28th. All right, thanks everyone for coming. We'll talk to you all soon.